Welcome in, everybody. My name is Ryan Peters. This is Stuck in the Catch Fence. I'm glad you're joining me today. Thank you, Daryl Waltrip, for the intro. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's get on to the topic. And as you know, we're close to the midpoint of the regular season. Why? Because, well, we're at the All-Star race. We're headed to North Wilkesboro in North Carolina, the track that has just recently been redone, thanks to the effort led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. to get it ready. And it kind of gives me time to reflect on the dilemma that I think NASCAR currently has. As you can tell by the thumbnail that included this face, unfortunately, maybe that steered you away and you hesitantly clicked on it accidentally, but regardless, thank you. I believe NASCAR kind of really finds itself in a situation where they're throwing stuff at the wall to seeing what sticks. Right now, NASCAR obviously is looking at the 18 to 45, 49, however you want to put it, audience and going, how do we get them? How do we retain them? And what do we do to interest them? But at the same time, NASCAR is also trying to serve its base, its foundation, the ones that show up to the races every single Sunday and the one that have continued the sport for a long time. And my question to you is, which one do you think they're serving better? Do you think they're serving both appropriately? And do you think NASCAR is making the right moves? So, obviously, what we've seen is NASCAR moving forward with different ideas. We've seen them go to the LA Coliseum, obviously, at the beginning of the year for the Busch Light Clash. And now we've seen them attempt to do something different by going to a street race in the city of Chicago. Now, obviously, that does not represent what we've known of the sport. Some would say Bowman Gray Stadium. I definitely think that's a big difference than what we've seen at the LA Coliseum, but we can hash that out a different day if you would like. And obviously, the street race, we've never done anything like that, at least in recent memory, when it comes to what product we have as NASCAR. To me, that is NASCAR trying to serve the younger generation. Why? Because when it comes to the street race, you hear about the chain smokers and Miranda Lambert. And when it comes to LA Coliseum, you heard about Ice Cube and other DJs. You didn't hear about racing. But at the same time, NASCAR goes, well, we have to do something for our foundation, our base, the people that actually show up to the sport that continue it and to what we watch every single Sunday and know and love. We've seen them reach out to go back to dirt racing. Now doing that 3 times, and that is in question moving forward, but at least I've just tried to pay more homage to what a lot of the racers grew up doing to get into automobile racing by going to a dirt track. Now we see them for the All-Star race go to a track that was revived back in NASCAR's heyday, a very unique track, a small track where one stretch goes uphill, one stretch goes downhill. Do you think NASCAR is doing right by trying to serve both? Do you selfishly wish they would just serve whatever demographic you land in? Or do you like the idea that NASCAR is trying to be broad and reach across different things and seeing what works? I'm kind of in the middle. I understand NASCAR needs to grow its sport, obviously, to survive. Without no future, NASCAR that we know and love will not be here. But at the same time, if you don't serve your base or your foundation, take a look at other manufacturers out there of certain products that have been in the news. You can take immediately and there will be no future regardless because you have no foundation for everything you're based upon. Now, I've had a microphone in front of me and talked plenty of times about my original favorite sport, baseball. Rob Manfred's done a ton to try to change that sport. And I've had a microphone, like I said, and been on multiple times on radio saying that, I think Rob Manfred's wrong. I think he's ruining it. The pitch clock, the larger bases, none of this makes sense. But I'm also willing to say I was wrong. I think Rob Manfred has done something that I now don't even think twice about when watching a game. It does not matter to me now how long it takes for a batter to get into the batter's box or a pitcher to throw the ball, because Now it's just secondhand. It comes natural. There's more base hits now due to the ban of the shift. But what we don't know from that data, did it grow the sport? That's why they did it. That's why Rob Manfred led the original part of the movement for baseball, was to grow the sport. Making it quicker was obviously the end product, but growing the sport is the long-term goal, the future of baseball. Will the Chicago Street Race grow the sport? Did the LA Coliseum grow the sport? I don't think we have those answers yet. I think it's fun. I think it's a neat idea. Maybe not the street race. I actually think the street race is a terrible idea with this type of car. But I'm also willing to give grace. The same thing I will for Rob Manfred in baseball. And in a few months, if I have to come back on here and say I was wrong, I'll admit that I was wrong. What I do like is that NASCAR is willing to do things differently where it doesn't affect the points races. We didn't need to find out if the LA Coliseum was going to work because we decided to do it on a points race and it was a catastrophic failure. I enjoyed the LA Coliseum race. I was apprehensive at first, thought it would be kind of silly. But at the end of the day, I think it's a great way to start off every single year if they want to do something similar to that. Now, I'll still stand. I don't want it to be a points race. I don't think that's the right idea. But at the same time, doesn't mean you can't enjoy it for what it is. And I think North Wilkesboro being revived, an older track, they have not done anything to the surface, and hopefully the surface holds up so we don't have a situation to where we're seeing more patchwork done than we actually are seeing racing. But at the same time, if it works, this is a brilliant move by NASCAR. Going back, an older part of the sport, going to an older track, a track that one of the icons of NASCAR, the most popular driver of all time, in many people's eyes, Dale Earnhardt Jr. revived to get it back to where it is today. A movement that probably can only be led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. for NASCAR to take notice and Bruton Smith and others to take notice for this to happen. It's a Midsummer's Classic now that we'll find out, is it worth making a points race? Only you, the fan, will be able to really let NASCAR know if that's the case. If you like it, let them know. If you don't like it, let them know. When it comes to the Chicago Street Race, yes, have your judgment before it starts. And I know it's fun to poke fun at, obviously, the political things going on there, and the not so funny thing when it comes to the crime going there. But I do ask you to have an open mind. And if you do like it, let them know. That's the only thing that we can do as fans, is to say, hey, we appreciate you trying to venture out, but never do this again. Or, hey, we appreciate you doing the work that you did, all the work that it required at North Wilkesboro. Let's keep it going. Why not look at Rockingham? We know it's had good races before. Why not look at the track behind me in Kentucky Speedway? You've already modified certain tracks at Atlanta to make them a new type of track. What other ways are we willing to innovate versus doing something that we completely don't know, like a Chicago Street Race? But the answer is, does it move the needle for the youth? I've been on here multiple times, obviously, and made fun of said youth, said Gen Z and younger, whatever you want to call them nowadays. NASCAR has a hard time reaching them because it has a hard time really showcasing its stars. That is the same issue that baseball has as well. Ross Chastain is now a star in this sport, whether you want it to be or not. Kyle Busch, you didn't want him to be a star. He is. He's one of the greatest drivers of all time. Joey Logano is a star in the sport. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott is a star in the sport. But unfortunately, as you could tell on Sunday by our thumbnail, people like William Byron still exist in the sport. And even though they're good, they do not move the needle. Ross Chastain moves the needle. You want to know why you keep hearing about Ross Chastain and Kyle Larson this week and not about William Byron leading the league in wins so far this season? Because William Byron doesn't move the needle. Ross Chastain moves the needle. That's where NASCAR needs to go, is to look at drivers that make them go viral. NASCAR is not meant to be a sport that is entertained and viewed in an hour and a half. It simply should not be. It's a test of machine. It's a test of the driver's stamina. More importantly, it's a mental focus that needs to be required at all times. A 3-hour race, a 400 to 500-mile race while your blood is pumping 160 to 170 beats per minute is a feat that not almost any other sport can replicate. Nonstop, no breaks. Well, no breaks as in like you don't get to rest. You do have breaks on the car, unless you're what, Ross Chastain maybe. But that's what NASCAR needs to do to find Gen Z, to find the younger group, to find them moving forward. That's where they need to look at. How do we promote this sport to where they can see it? Showing a guy punch another guy in the face, whether you want to believe it or not, that moves the needle. That's actually how it got the sport recognized during the Daytona 500 in the 70s, the first televised race. Yeah, it was a great finish, just exactly like we had at Kansas. But it was somebody getting punched in the face that put this sport on the map. That's how you get eyeballs. And also, it takes the drivers to recognize that as well. You cannot be boring. You cannot be mundane. Yes, NASCAR drivers don't want to sell to their sponsors now. The teams don't want to try to sell to their sponsors now. But will you sell the sport to the youth? Will you sell your personalities to show why this sport is so engaging for us to watch and enjoy? That's the real question. And my question to you also is, how did you start watching NASCAR? I can tell you myself, I was 8 years old, saw cars going really, really fast. My dad was sitting down watching it. I go, tell me more about this. You know what else it involved? A video game, NASCAR 98. Found a cheat code to use paintballs. I had friends that never watched NASCAR before would come over and we would play that. Video games. The foundation and base, keeping them involved to pass it along to their youth. And also now using social media to your benefit. My thinking is how you get the sport moving forward. Not trying out races where the most popular thing that you can advertise for the said race is the concert that that doesn't even take place on the same day. So NASCAR really does find itself in a dilemma. Are we moving forward by trying new things? Or actually, should we move backwards and make the old things new again? My question to you, what motivates you more? What gets you more excited? Is it Chicago? Or is it a small town in North Wilkesboro? Thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, you can like and subscribe. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But the only way that you can win a diecast like we have right here of Dale Earnhardt or your favorite NASCAR driver is subscribing to the channel. When we get to 500 subscriptions, we'll be giving away a free diecast of your choice. And we'd love to have you be able to participate with that. Also, let me know what you think about the conversation. Do you believe NASCAR is in a dilemma? Which side do you land with? Are you more with the base or are you more with the innovation? It probably takes a little bit of both, but we'll see which way NASCAR ultimately goes. My name is Ryan Peters again. This has been Stuck in the Catch Fence. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.